And that means, as Haru, we must, and this is a hard saying, family, we must face some of the harsh realities of how we have been building our vessel or bark over time. Because right now, family, there are 3 identifiable groups in humanity who are now being impacted by the rising spiritual waters. And I'll leave us today with a verse from the Pertimbru in closing, but I'll leave us to think about these 3 groups, and then when we come back, we can talk about these more. The first group, you know, how have we been building the lighted temple? The first group, those in the first group, will be of those who have been following a spiritual path. They will be buoyed by the rising spiritual tides. And that's a real emphasis on the word buoyed. Already luminous and lighted, their vessel will be lifted by the tidal waves. Cresting magnificent spiritual peaks, they will express a profusion in their creative ability. They will outpour their spiritual gifts in a tremendous demonstration of service to humanity. So imagine those boats afloat, what that bark, boat, or temple looks like on these spiritual waters. Not disturbed by the crashing, and it just buoys these boats because they've been on it. The second group, with their partially and ill-prepared vessel, will scramble last minute to build and refine the equipment while simultaneously attending to the spiritual storm. This will be tedious. Getting the vessel to bear a vibration it is unaccustomed to while navigating the storm may cause a shattering or shipwreck in the equipment. You resonate with what's being said, family. I mean, you know how you're out in a boat and because it needed some patchwork here, you're taking on water and you're trying to navigate and you're pouring out water, and so partially and ill-prepared. You know, this spiritual storm is not about going to get canned goods, although on the material level, go get canned goods. On the material level, if you're on the East Coast and you feel like you need to relocate because the tip of Florida might be underwater, then relocate. But this is not what we're talking about here, primarily. We're talking about the spiritual implications of the perfect storm. Getting the vessel to bear a vibration it is unaccustomed to while navigating the storm may cause a shattering or shipwreck in the equipment. And then the third group, family, to be Haru, the third group will consist of those who have made little or no preparation. Now this causes my heart pause. They will simply be drowned, if not rescued and offered sanctuary by the first and second group. They will likewise offer those in the first and second group their biggest test in the Aquarian principles of brotherhood, sisterhood, universal love, and service. So more will be said about this next time, but already you family are building lighted temple. You family are Noahs. You family have prepared that sacred ark where you may take people on board at during these troubled times, offering them safe haven and sanctuary. You know, how does that look? You know, there are those who are on this call who are teachers. You know, you're offering safe haven and sanctuary through your guidance of others, of young people. There are folks who are teaching a little course online or teaching something in the basement of their homes that they've made a little classroom, or doing healing work, or administering or helping people economically. They are taking people on board as Noah. We are all called to be Noah at this time. Even on Facebook, we have people on Facebook. We even in our call here, folks who have created platforms that are safe haven and sanctuary by giving others this tremendous nourishment and this cultural feeding as they come to their pages to partake of this higher vibration. And so these Noahs are afloat. Noahs are afloat, and they are offering safe haven to those who are in need. Hotep, and greetings, everyone. Welcome to Building the Lighted Temple Wisdom Service. And for anyone who's coming for the first time, I am Dr. Nteri Nelson, a metaphysician, clinician, and educator. And I am so delighted once again to share in this sacred space that we are cultivating together in coming into this lighted space, this ethereal, this primal space in which we can do the work of building the lighted temple. So people are arriving, and I welcome each and every one of you. In continuing our journey today, in steeping deeply into our primal wisdom, our African wisdom that our African ancestors of the Nile Valley have recorded, have given to us, have bestowed upon us, and have charged us with reconnecting with, especially at these times. And in the prior wisdom services, we have been working and studying about Osir and Osset. We went over the story of Osir and Osset and Haru as conveyed in the Pertim Brew. I'll hold that up. And we have been steeping and invoking within the energies of Osset at Mother's Day, and then Osir last Sunday in our service. And today we are going to bring our awareness and focus to Haru, because this is the Divine Trinity. So I'm going to just show you some images today rather than go back and forth so much to the PowerPoint. But I showed this before, and this is our Divine Trinity of Osir, Osir, Osset, and Haru. So Osir, Osset, and Haru. And this is the Divine Trinity that predates other dispensations of our spiritual natures, our divinities. And Osir, Osset, and Haru have their correspondence with Ka'aba, which is what this book is about. This is also one of the texts that I have written, Ka'aba, Building Lighted Temple. I'll just hold that up. And we're going to look at locating that Divine Trinity within ourselves. That Divine Trinity isn't outside of ourselves. That Divine Trinity is within ourselves. So let me just take a moment to just welcome folks who are here as we get started. Let me just see. Okay, want to say good morning to, good morning, Uncle Jocelyn. So as I was saying, this Divine Trinity is within us, and so much of what we have learned, especially in our early childhoods, would locate that Trinity out there somewhere. And yes, grand rising to all. Yes, Nora, I see you. But that divine Trinity is within us. Everything is within us. All the stellar substance is within us. All the nature are within us. We are the Nteri, we are the Ntert, we are the Neteru. They are within us. And so I begin today by locating that divine Trinity within us, because what we are going to move to is to really focus today on Haru. And Haru is within us. Asur is within us. Aset is within us. And Haru, as Haru, we are engaged in this battle, as we talked about last service, this battle between now Haru and Set, because it is Set who has, this jealous brother who has slayed Asur. And now we as Haru are engaged in this battle to be restored as the rightful heir upon the throne. And so today is about really understanding what do we need to do to be Haru? What do we need to do to be Shemsu Haru? What do we need to be followers of Haru, Shemsu Haru, followers of Haru? And so we will be going over many of the steps and practices to be as Haru, to be fully suited up and engaged in this battle. We know now, because of the time we live in, that this is not for the faint of heart. It's on. It's on in full force. And we are spiritually arming to be prepared in every way for this battle that we now are engaged in. And this is not a new battle. This has been an ongoing battle. As you saw, I posted the video from last week where I made reference to Marvin Gaye, who was talking 50 years ago about what's going on. And then 50 years before that, and 100 years before that. And, so we're looking to understand now what I write about in my book, chapter 17, the spiritual implications of the perfect storm. And family, I have put many videos out on understanding the dimensional shift that we're in this perfect storm. So I just want to start by having us locate this divine Trinity within us. And what we want to do, and we did a little bit of this last session or two, is, because we've gone cosmically, we've immersed into the primal waters, we've immersed within the noon, we have been with the arising of Ra with no place to stand, and bringing forth the birth of the children of his children Shu and Tefnut and so on, and this whole creation process, this creation story, until we, as above, so below as above, locate ourselves from the cosmic, the cosmogenesis, the cosmic egg, the universal egg, down to our local egg that we see on the horizon, the sun Ra, that we woke up and saw this morning, because our African ancestors patterned their lives after the passage of the sun. So we are in this passage, in this study of the sun, for our guidance and for our assurance that the sun will rise. That's what we are assured on. We are the Nehehe, we are the ever-coming ones. We are the Nejet Nehehe, the everlasting ones. So we come now to Earth with a thud, and we locate within ourselves. Where do we locate within ourselves this stellar substance? Where is it? How is it that we locate it? And there is a full study of how to locate all within in Ka'aba, building the lighted temple. And it is an exact science, you know, just as when you go to medical school and they teaching you, and you have the body on the table, you may be undergoing some surgical procedure. You have to be able to know where locate the liver. You have to be able to turn the liver over and locate the gallbladder. You have to know this physical anatomy. Well, likewise, our African ancestors have taught us how to locate the spiritual anatomy, how to locate within that spiritual substance and that spiritual anatomy. So the Divine Trinity, and it has its correspondence with our chakras within. So we begin by just locating. We touch your head and just say Ba. This is Ba. If we're talking about Ka, Ab, and Ba. So we locate Ka just below the navel. That's our creative center. So touch there and say Ka. Ka. Touch the heart center, the heart chakra, and say Ab. Touch the crown chakra and say Ba. Then locate the Divine Trinity, Asur, the head, Haru, which is sun daughter within us, the heart, and Aset, the Divine Mother. We locating, and we can see that it is Haru that is betwixt and between the father and the mother, spirit and matter. And so it's right here in the heart that we have this struggle to make the good and perfect choice of how to unite father and mother, spirit and matter, positive and receptive within us. How do we knit ourselves back together again? And this is how we move from a linear tree of life to a spherical tree of life, because we are spherical beings, but it's coming on rapport and understanding how to move the fire within and unite the base chakra and the crown chakra, the heart chakra, get the circulatory flow and fire going within us. So Ba, Ab, Ka, Ka, Ab, Ba, Asur, Haru, Aset, father, son, daughter, mother. And you'll see also, and I hope all of you are encouraged to have an astrological and meteorological energy reading here at the Academy that I will do if I have your birth time, etc. Because our astrology and meteorology is all right here within. So sun, this is ascendant. This is about the life purpose that we're going to be talking about as Haru, and then the moon. These are the primary luminaries within that we need to understand what was the energy qualifying these luminaries, the sun and the moon, when we were born, and what was the luminary on the ascendant when we were born. This gives us key portal information as to our assignment, what our energetic template is that we are drawing from throughout this incarnation to do the work we have come to do. All right, family. Okay, so so then let's shift here. So we're going to and I just want to have us in the spirit of our meditation practice also understand that the sound of the Om is within us as well. This is the A, this is the U, and this is the M. And so let us together sound the Om, and then we'll sound the unifying Om to see how to move these fires. So we start and we divide 1/3 of we take a deep breath, and we divide 1/3 of the breath on the A, 1/3 of the breath on the U, and 1/3 of the breath on the M. And just visualize the energy moving through those centers, those chakras, connecting with the divinity within as we do so. So let's just do this linearly first, and then I'll show you how to do it spherically. So because we are spherical beings, and we're moving away and out of, in our graduation from a linear tree of life, to know that we are spherical beings. So we can close our eyes, and we can just, if you just watch my hands, you'll see how I am moving the energy. So we just take a deep breath and we go, oh. Good. All right. So now what we're going to do is the circular Om, and circulate that energy. All right. So I'll show you this once, and then I'll show you a technique in between to raise the 5. So let's just do this. Just circulate the Om together and as one. Oh. So you raise the M back up to the A. That's uniting the Father and the Mother within you. As above, so below as above. Everything that happens outwardly in terms of a divine marriage and union between the Father and the Mother, the positive and receptive, is happening within you. That divine marriage is taking place within you. So when we bring the breath, we bring the M back up to the A. So A, Father, U, Son, Daughter, M, Mother. Asur, Haru, Aset. So now we're going to do one last circular Om. But now, when we bring the M down to our Aset, 1 inch below our navel, we're going to squeeze the perineum muscle. And the perineum muscle is the muscle we squeeze midway between urination to stop urination flow. You know that muscle, right? We've all had to squeeze it if we're out too long and we're looking for a gas station or somewhere to stop. And it's also the muscle that women squeeze, work, and try to strengthen after childbirth, those Kegel muscles. So we're going to do one last circular Om. We're going to go sound the A, and then the U and the M. And when we get to the M, we're going to squeeze that perineum muscle and bring the fire, raise the fire back up to your head center, which has 2 chakras, your crown and your first eye. All right. All right. Together and as one. Oh. Now, there'll be other sessions when we do a much longer meditation as we begin, but I want you to just locate, we go non-locality where we're simultaneously everywhere all at once. There's an all at onceness, and then we get very focused and we locate. So that all of that is within. All right, having done that, we are focused here in the heart, in Haru. And remember this, I held up last time, Haru is the seat of, which is Ab in our template, in our cosmogram, in our tree of life, which is the seat of conscience and consciousness. And as Haru becomes, that consciousness becomes all consciousness, Ab becomes Ba. Ab becomes Ba. So how are we becoming fully conscious? This is the work of Haru. Haru is working to be fully conscious, to be triumphant in this battle. I want to share some, go over some things from my book, Building a Lighted Temple. Just see where I'm at here. I want to say, family, that even as we speak, my husband is in, a real battle, one that he's been waging for nearly 20 years, a medical battle, and it's waging now as we speak. And so let's send out healing energy to all who are in battle. And whatever that battle is, it can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be mental, it can be spiritual, it can be financial, it can be battling with outside foes. It can be battles of all kinds. So whatever that battle is. Let's see, David says, what color should we visualize when sending out healing energy? If you have some familiarity with who you're sending it to, because it really depends on what you're trying to affect. And if someone needs more vitality, you can send them red. If someone has a fever, you wouldn't want to do that. So you'd send them blue, something soothing. So it all depends. But I'm just going to try to pull this up again. All right, I'm just going to move this over. I trust that you can see me. Send me a chat if you can't. But anyway, so I'm pulling up Building Lighted Temple. So this is chapter 17. You can find this in your book. I trust that many of you have it. And don't worry if you don't, because I'm going to just really go over what is here today. But in chapter 17, we've been talking about the spiritual implications of the perfect storm. And family, I have multiple videos on understanding these cycles of time. So I'm not going to go in great depth here, but I'll put links in so you can see previous videos that I have put up. But the basics are that we are in this dimensional shift. I have been talking about this dimensional shift for two decades now. And essentially, we are moving from this materialization and consciousness cycle into a re-spiritualization and consciousness cycle. And we are just at the beginnings in this hard, arduous uphill climb out of this material cycle we've been in. And consequently, we stand poised right within this vertex of the V, where the material forces and the spiritual forces are clashing. We now have these spiritual energies that are bathing our planet, and so we can feel the shift. We feel the earth moving from underneath our feet. We feel, and yet we are very keen on the density and the coarseness and the baseness and the crystallization that is happening in this material cycle. And we know this material cycle has been dealt a death blow, but it is still writhing in that pain and still wanting to hold on in its grip. We also know, family, that in this dimensional shift, we have come to the place in our world period, in our planetary cycle, where the karmic debt has come due. Why is that? Because we moved from this involutionary cycle, now we're shifting, but in this period, humanity has gone out, and starting with our African ancestors, our African family, who then, from them, we have these emergence of these seeming racial types. So in this world period, we have the unfoldment of the human family on the planet. And in this time, as Haru has been able to use its own free will to decide whether to build a world in accord with the divinely intended design and archetype. And that means, as Haru, we are tasked with having to attune to that. You know, what is that archetypal plan that we are to be in accord with? What is it? And we get in touch with that through our practices, through our meditation. How do we know there's a divine design? How do we know if we're working in and out of accord with it? And then what happens if we say, well, I'm not even going to reference with that. I'm going to go do my own designer thing. You know, the way I talk about this in my book is, we have to tap into our Tahutian faculty, our higher mind, where we have instantaneous knowing. This is what our African ancestors call the coups, that divine ideation, the divine ideation in the mind of God. How do we be in that divine workshop and witness to the divinely intended design, purpose, and plan? Well, that requires a certain intentioning and posture. But at the same time, family, as Haru, we have our own free will, and we may choose not to work in accord with that divine design. And the way I talk about this in my book is to think about a multitudinous puzzle and a multitudinous piece puzzle box cover. And it is when we are able to glimpse the box cover, that's what we glimpse when we move within the first eye. We're able to see the divine arrangement of things and the archetypal plan. And then we are tasked to go out and build in accord with that. But we can choose to not even reference with that box cover. We can just try to put the pieces together any old way we choose, and see if they'll fit, and see if what we come up with is anywhere approximating that. And right now, family, what we sit with in this karmic shift is the accumulation of, now there are good things that we sit with as well, but we sit with the accumulation of wrong thought, word, and deed, and the building askew the divinely intended design. As a planetary family, this is where we sit. We can see it on our planet. This is what we are able to glimpse at this time. And this is why not only is our individual heart being weighed every night when we go to sleep, and we're in that nightly review of, you know, did I do the right thing in this moment? Was I out of accord in that moment? So that's our nightly review. Then there's the review of our lifetime as individuals, as Haru. But it is the planetary heart. It is the heart of humanity that is being weighed now on the scales. And the karmic debt has come due in how we have been building this world. And the young people have said things are out of whack. You know, it's a world built out of whack. So first and foremost, family, it is understanding what is the work of Haru. Haru first has to orient himself, herself, and orient even in knowing when you incarnated, what made you come at this particular time, because there are other cycles of time that you may have come in, but the fact that you came now speaks to the work that as Haru needs to be accomplished. So here we are with the karmic debt and consequence of having built a world in accord or out of accord with the laws of Ma'at, the laws of Tahuti. And we see already karmically that karmic debt is coming due because it is immediately, wrongdoing is exposed more and more instantaneously. The veil has worn very thin. And so we see now folks not even being able to get down the street before their deeds are being outed. So that's part of the speed of karmic consequence. And so here we are now in this perfect storm of multiple cycles, which I talk about in this convergence that's happening now and contributing to this shift. So one of the questions we want to ask ourselves as, and I want you to make sure you remember to put your questions in the chat, in the question box, I'll go to them shortly, is the question, how do we hold now this dual point of view when we are living in times both perilous because of this materialization cycle that we're shifting from, times perilous and times propitious. And what makes it, again, them perilous is this despiritualization, materialization, and all the consequences we see all over our planet as this cycle has had its grip and has been running its course, which has been the birthing out of which has been white supremacy and again, this materialization. And how are we moving energetically, propitiously or favorably? We move because we see this as a doorway of the re-spiritualization of our planet. And we see now it is an opportunity for us to achieve unimaginable spiritual heights and peace and well-being. So these things are going on simultaneously. And so this is part of the battle for Haru, as we are Haru, as we are Shemsu Haru, because 1 minute you may be moving in that propitious stream of spiritual infusion, then followed by a material blow of the force of that gripping energy on any particular day. You can have a high followed by, and then you by a really quite an impactful material blow, because you're trying to make this shift. All right. And so what else do we need to know as Haru? We want to know that we are Noah, and that is not Noah, but the symbolism is similar. We need to know that we are knowers, Knowers. And this has to do also with the shift in our energies from a Piscean age of believing to the Aquarian, or the age of Hapi, in knowing. And so we move now as knowers, discerning the way. And yet we are moving through these spiritual waters, these which is Aquarius, Aquarius is an air sign, but it's about an ethereal spiritual water that we're moving through. And again, the shift in this age is just one of the cycles. There's a greater cycle that has to do with the shift that's taking place in our relationship in the Milky Way galaxy, but that's a bigger cycle. There are cycles within cycles within cycles. So these are two major shifts that my work refers to. And I just want to read you just something from the book to just understand, to help understand what this shifting is like. So I write, in this perfect storm, the spiritual waters are rising. Now, family, this service is called Building the Lighted Temple, where we're coming into these primal waters. So we are immersing in these waters. In this perfect storm, the spiritual waters are rising. At this great vertex in time, cycles are converging to create the perfect storm. In the midst of these great convergences, cataclysms are occurring. We must know our direction or alignment given all the signs of the rising spiritual tide. We must focus on how to prepare a spirit-worthy vehicle. This is our work. What is the work that we need to do in our vessel so that it is spirit-worthy for these waters that we are intentionally immersing ourselves in each and every day and each and every Sunday when we come to this service. One that can bear the great spiritual impress. Now, after emerging from a long dry spell of material darkness, this convergence will feel like a spiritual tidal wave. So imagine that, there can be those days, family, when, you can just feel some of the symptoms of these spiritual waters simultaneous with the material energy that still is holding its ever more fragile grip, but still a grip. This convergence will feel like a spiritual tidal wave washing over spirit-depleted humanity, because we've been through something on this planet in this cycle. We are still going through something. It's not over. We have come a long way. We're not the same place where Harriet Tubman was, but we are still not fully immersed on the other side. And with any storm where you see the raging waters and all of the tumultuousness of the clashing waves, then suddenly there is a cessation of all of that turbulence, and then you see the sun come out. It just looks like that, just like when we have all the storms on a typical day of bad weather. And then the next thing you know, the sun comes out and the waters are receding. Well, we are just in a bigger cataclysm of this same occurrence. Washing over spirit-depleted humanity, waters battering our physical, emotional, and mental equipment. And you know, there is that of this spiritual battering that is absolutely wonderful. Meaning, you know, there's the material beatdown that we get too, but when you let this waters of spirit just wash over you, and just because, you know, you're feeling some things in this cycle that you haven't felt for a while. And so just be trusting that you're just being spiritually nourished, because we have been spiritually depleted. And waters batter our physical, emotional, and mental equipment. To be sat down and forcefully fed and made to drink at a brimming spiritual banquet table, after one has known starvation and thirst, this may produce strange, even discomforting symptoms. Do you know, family, there are folks who probably can't sit at this table and drink of this primal water because of the starvation that has the material, the starvation, the spiritual starvation that has been happening at other tables. In short, the waves from this spiritual infusion will batter the vessels of humanity, testing their spirit worthiness. So when we look at these vessels, you know, our African ancestors teach us of our 7 soul bodies, our 7 planes of consciousness, and how we are working I'll just hold this up quickly. This is a longer study, don't worry, but how we are moving on all of these levels, these 7 planes of consciousness, how we are working to unpack ourselves, because we're not just working to build a house, build a lighted temple. You know, we're not just working to build a house where we have the first floor, the physical, the emotional, the second floor, the emotional, the third floor, the mental. But what's up here, this soul light up here? Well, our African ancestors teach us there are these 3 other levels we must rise to. So we have to unpack ourselves. We have to and when we tap into these higher levels within our own being, and when we locate those higher levels, family, we have lifted above the diaphragm into the heart. I have shared previously, lots of humanity is still living below the diaphragm, not even accessing these higher levels of our consciousness, our awareness. So we are working to strengthen these vessels so they're fit and light the temple. And then we want to see the way to unpack ourselves. So here we're in the Ka triangle, here we're in the Ab triangle, here we're in the Ba triangle. So we're learning to unpack ourselves fully in the linear tree of life. And then when we get to the Makaba energy body of light, we are working to knit ourselves back together again, because we are spherical beings. So we're unpacking ourselves and we're knitting ourselves back together. And as we do that, I'll show you this. I hope you can see this as best you can. But then when we move within our Makaba energy body of light, we are coming to that apex, or which is our crown. As Haru, you can see here, we have knit ourselves back together again, and we are indwelling that energy body of light. So this is just some of the practices for being Shem Su Haru, followers of Haru. So just some questions to leave you with, and I'm going to take some questions in a moment. Where do I stand in regard to these converging cycles? So to each one of us to ask, where do I stand? What are the signs of, some of the signs of preparedness? Like what are some of the things that you know you're needing to do to prepare? What is the urgency of making rapid preparation? What is my soul purpose and soul ray energy? You know, in other words, what is the dominant energy of the soul, of the energy of your soul, which is Haru. So Haru is the life purpose. When we tap into the energy of Haru, we understand why we have come and what is we have come to do. Where am I going on my spiritual journey? What is my intention, course, direction, and destination through this spiritual storm? What is the map or path work to spiritual ascent and Osirian resurrection? So the tree of life is our map and road work. And to ask, how am I building a spiritual Bach? How are we building as we come into these waters, family, this primal? How are we building that spiritual Bach for the rising spiritual tides in the perfect storm? What is my spiritual Bach or temple? So Haru needs to ask, what is it? What is my instrument? What's my gear? What's my apparatus? And how is my spiritual Bach navigating and bearing the impress of these spiritual waters? Because we want to be able to bear and be keyed up and be inviting this spiritual impress upon and within our vehicle, our vessel, that we may be fit and bear up to the spirit, this vibration. We are raising our vibration. What are some of the cycles that inform the question of what time it is? And where do I stand in regard to these converging cycles? So we may ask, how do you stand? How do you juxtapose standing in a place that's both perilous and propitious? You know, how do we juxtapose that? That is what Haru is up against right now, a place both perilous and propitious. It is propitious time for those who know that they are co-workers in the great divine plan and stand in alignment with their sole purpose of aiding humanity, Earth, and her inhabitants. The energies now favor the full expression and manifestation of your benevolent, innovative, and creative ways of being, which will heal and awaken the true meaning of humanhood. All right, so that's what's propitious. This is your time for those who know why they have come. It is a perilous time in this turning point because material consciousness is at its lowest vibration, and as I have said, has grown most crystallized, coarse, and dense, and this grip has been made strong over this world period. And even though we find it brittle and shattering now, it is still treacherous and must be managed. Okay, so those who have come to Earth at this time, do the healing work, are perched at the turning point of this vertex, and know that you are heralders and bringers of the dawn in this shift, but also know that the contending forces will work with treachery and ferocity to hang on to the old. And we see that in the nightly news. We see that which is going on. All right, now let me just go and see a question here. All right, we have 16 people here. Welcome, everyone. Let me just put my glasses on. Can you expand on the Kemetic law of rhythm? All right, and is that something we can study in the Kabbalah, which is said to, yes. This is a very important question, Allegra. Let me just speak to that. Yes, the Kemetic law of rhythm. And I spoke about this in our last service, which is, let's see what happened here. I'll do something and then, okay. That, one moment. Technical stuff always. So our African ancestors have taught us about this Kemetic law of rhythm, and that is they were tellers of time. They were observers of time. It is Deuteronomy later biblically that says, "Do not be tellers of time." Our African ancestors studied the stars, so they knew and watched and charted great cycles of time, and they teach us that to be polarized, which means to keep the awareness here as we watch the pendulum swing, as we watch it swing from the highs to the lows, from the lows to the highs, and to be in back of that as witness. And in that way, we are, as Haru, we are at maximal consciousness while simultaneously being able to participate in what may, in appearance, because that's all of this is an appearance, is devastating times, shocking times. Family, you resonate with what's being said. Haru, there are things that Haru must do to see clearly and brace him or herself to be right in the battle and emerge triumphant. And so what are the signs, some of the signs of preparedness? Let us look. One is to recognize Haru, that you've chosen to incarnate at this very specific time in our Earth's history. You might have come in a cycle. Remember last week I put the video out and talked about Haru, Asur going to the banquet, and how there was peace in the kingdom, and Aset and Asur were in rulership, in harmony and peace, to the point where Asur went out and spread that harmony and peace to other nations. And so you could have come before the banquet to those wide cycles of time. You could have come, but you didn't. You came now when we are just starting to emerge out of the muck and mire of this cycle, and we haven't quite made our fuller breakthrough yet, but we are emerging where we are further than we have been. We are further than Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass experienced, but we have a ways to go. And so what are some of the signs of preparedness? Recognizing why you have come, and that you are being impressed more and more with these spiritual energies. So be awake to the awakening. Be, I work with, as a clinician, I wear a few hats, a metaphysician, a clinician, educator. As a clinician, I work with some folks and they'll talk about experiences, dreams, sensations, and they'll be kind of maybe a bit worried, or what does that mean? And if you go to other practitioners who don't understand our history, they might have a whole nother treatment plan for you, because they just, it's just a whole nother orientation. So being open to your dreams, being open to the awakening that's taking place, being receptive to the sensations that you are feeling, that are enlivening, that are informing, and we are, as metaphysicians, we are way past being spooked up. All right, that was part of the European dispensation, to have Black people, African people spooked up about their own stuff. So we're not spooked up about anything. Now we're acting Aquarian, and we're investigating, and we're getting facts, and we're getting data, but we are also attuning to Tahutian mind to see how this fits. When something comes to us, we are referencing the source with the resource to see, okay, how does this fit, so that we keep our balance. We have to keep our balance. Okay, so others, in order to be as Shamsu Haru, we are looking at our spiritual path and practices, and following these, what I write about, these 4 pillars of disciplic living, in order to be as Osir. And these 4 practices, very basic practices, are our prayer and our meditation. I mean, today we began with a bit of a meditation. Our study and reflection, we are hitting the books. We're hitting the books. Our service and our purpose, we're implementing what it is finding application in what it is we're learning. Practice and discipline, the practice and discipline of even coming to this service each week, and doing the work in the outer world in between. How are we as Haru? We are attuning and aware that by understanding that we have come into this incarnation with a strong sense of soul purpose. There are some folks who don't think about why they're here. But think about this family. You've come with a strong sense of soul purpose. And you feel compelled to hold your alignment with divine will and plan in order to play your part in the sacredization of Earth, as a co-worker in the divine plan, and work to fulfill your soul work. So this is the discipline. How do you, if you have a strong sense of soul purpose, how are you keeping your alignment? You're keeping your alignment by being attuned to that divine wisdom within, that Tahutian faculty within. And then you're working as an accessor, as Osir, to the fount of all possibility, to your supply. You recognize that you're an accessor to that primal source, that primordial waters, that noon, the fount of all possibility, that you can access, that you, so that's your alignment. You're referencing with that puzzle box cover. What's the, you're going into meditation, and you're sensing it, you're glimpsing it, and then you glimpse, and then you go out and set to work with what you have your spirit has revealed to you in that moment, and then the next, and the next. Likewise, family, you feel the pulse of the earth and the heart beat of the earth, and you are awakening more and more to her pain and suffering, and your mission of saving and serving. Your heart's open to assist earth and her inhabitants through the travails. And your own pain and suffering is being transmuted into the luminous healing balm of loving understanding that you now use to salve, serve, and save. In other words, you know, through your own impacts that you've had, and you know the road work from the inside out, and show others the way. And in this way, you are able to administer a healing balm, a BALM, that can go out and heal, versus the man-made bombs, BOMBS, that this world has been very fond of in terms of solving its discord in human history in this paradigm. And so this, and this is number 5 in the book, this means that our own healing, we have to be doing the work to heal our own pain, our own suffering, transmuting all of that in the what I call the purificatory fiery chambers of the heart. We transmute that pain and suffering into this luminous light. We make gold within, that we may administer to the world. And because we do our work, it's how we move from being wounded to wounded healer. We work while we're wounded to heal others. And because we're working to heal ourselves, then we move from being wounded healer to being healers. And how are we to become healers? Because we know the road work. We know the path work. We have trodden the way to healing. And because we have done so, we can show others the way. So these are the just some of the awarenesses of Haru. And I'm going to look at the questions here a moment. We're getting closer. Time always seems to go so fast. Okay. Questions. Let me just look at the chat a little bit. Hi, everyone. All right. Let's see. Okay. Peace and love. Peace and power to Baba Nelson. Ever since his message, I've been making a note to look every brother I see in public. He will just love these words, Tim, in the eye, and speak to them to show them respect. Thankful for that jewel and the many more he will share. Thank you so much, Brother Baba Haru, Tim. Yes, those words are very powerful. And oh, she is listening. Oh, Paula says she's listening by phone. Okay. A small island. Oh, okay. And then someone said, I recently dreamt of a small island surrounded by water being submerged. Can you interpret? Well, and that was put in the chat. I would have missed that if I was looking for that. Yes, this is where we are at. We are at the place in our spiritual journey where all of these boats may arise be lifted by these waters, all of these boats. However, there are qualifiers, family. There are qualifiers. And let me see how far I can get before we to speak to that. Let's see, and I just want to say hello to everyone. I'm gonna miss some folks. Let's see. Okay, yes, there are 14 of us here. All right, just welcome everyone if I didn't say your name earlier. So, let me try to get back where I was. I'm gonna minimize this. Okay. All right, so in the interest of time, I'm going to skip ahead and then we'll come back. But that was a very good question that was in the chat. I'm glad I got to see that because it's going to speak to where we are. And then as we get closer to our, because we're into exactitude, we're working to be very precise here. We don't want any hit and misses. We want total alignment. No meandering, straight as an arrow. All right, so this is going to speak to the question that was asked about seeing the water rising. Each one of us must understand our equipment that we've been evolving over time, and this equipment is both human and divine. And this building the fit vessel, some folks may interpret that outwardly as building a boat for the waters that are arising on our planet and affecting our coastline, the flooding, etc. They may be building underground bunkers. They may be doing a variety of things, but that's not what I'm referring to here. What we're working on is these spiritual levels where we're understanding what it means to build the lighted temple. And we must, the spiritual impress. So here we are, family. So to answer, what is the urgency for making rapid preparation? Now, if you saw waters rising, what would you do, right? And understanding what those waters are. There's the material waters, and then there's the spiritual waters. So we're working with both. To answer these questions, each person must understand the equipment that they have been evolving over time, which is both human and divine. And this spiritual impress will find some with a fit vessel and even more without. You know, there are some folks who are challenged to even touch their toes. There are folks who are having challenges managing overwhelming anxiety, which is emotional, and so on. So before looking on how to direct your course or suitability of your vessel or instrument, let us look at the urgency to make rapid preparation. And that means, as Haru, we must, and this is a hard saying, family, we must face some of the harsh realities of how we have been building our vessel or bark over time. Because right now, family, there are 3 identifiable groups in humanity who are now being impacted by the rising spiritual waters. And I'll leave us today with a verse from the Pertimbru in closing, but I'll leave us to think about these 3 groups, and then when we come back, we can talk about these more. The first group, you know, how have we been building the lighted temple? The first group, those in the first group, will be of those who have been following a spiritual path. They will be buoyed by the rising spiritual tides. And that's a real emphasis on the word buoyed. Already luminous and lighted, their vessel will be lifted by the tidal waves. Cresting magnificent spiritual peaks, they will express a profusion in their creative ability. They will outpour their spiritual gifts in a tremendous demonstration of service to humanity. So imagine those boats afloat, what that bark, boat, or temple looks like on these spiritual waters. Not disturbed by the crashing, and it just buoys these boats because they've been on it. The second group, with their partially and ill-prepared vessel, will scramble last minute to build and refine the equipment while simultaneously attending to the spiritual storm. This will be tedious. Getting the vessel to bear a vibration it is unaccustomed to while navigating the storm may cause a shattering or shipwreck in the equipment. You resonate with what's being said, family. I mean, you know how you're out in a boat and because it needed some patchwork here, you're taking on water and you're trying to navigate and you're pouring out water, and so partially and ill-prepared. You know, this spiritual storm is not about going to get canned goods, although on the material level, go get canned goods. On the material level, if you're on the East Coast and you feel like you need to relocate because the tip of Florida might be underwater, then relocate. But this is not what we're talking about here, primarily. We're talking about the spiritual implications of the perfect storm. Getting the vessel to bear a vibration it is unaccustomed to while navigating the storm may cause a shattering or shipwreck in the equipment. And then the third group, family, to be Haru, the third group will consist of those who have made little or no preparation. Now this causes my heart pause. They will simply be drowned if not rescued and offered sanctuary by the first and second group. They will likewise offer those in the first and second group their biggest test in the Aquarian principles of brotherhood, sisterhood, universal love, and service. So more will be said about this next time, but already you, family, are building lighted temple. You, family, are Noahs. You, family, have prepared that sacred ark where you may take people on board during these troubled times, offering them safe haven and sanctuary. You know, how does that look? You know, there are those who are on this call who are teachers. You know, you're offering safe haven and sanctuary through your guidance of others, of young people. There are folks who are teaching a little course online or teaching something in the basement of their homes that they've made a little classroom, or doing healing work, or administering or helping people economically. They're taking people on board as Noah. We are all called to be Noah at this time. Even on Facebook, we have you know, people on Facebook. We even in our call here, folks who have created platforms that are safe haven and sanctuary by giving others this tremendous nourishment and this cultural feeding as they come to their pages to partake of this higher vibration. And so these knowers are afloat. Knowers are afloat, and they are offering safe haven to those who are in need. Okay. Now I'm going to, time went really, I'm gonna go to, thank you for all who have been on this. And see, this is it's important to hear. We dreamt of a small island by water slowly submerged. Yeah, I love that. Anyway, so I want to leave us with a verse from our Pertimru. Let's see. And I got to go back here and share my screen with you so you can see it too with me. So here we go, share my screen. All right, we'll read this together. This is to be as Haru, Shemsu Haru. This is from our Pertimru, our sacred holy text. And this is the chapter of giving a heart unto Asur Ani in the underworld. And remember, Asur Ani he's now called Asur because he's graduated to this point, but he is Haru, who has made his way to this moment. It is the Haru within you that makes its way to be as Asur. Ab becomes Ba, and it is the Haru within you who then becomes, brings yourself to Asur. Later, biblically, this would be translated as no one can come before the Father except through the Son, but they just took it from our story. Anyway, family, chapter of giving a heart unto Asur Ani in the underworld. Ani says, and I leave you, family, with these words, and I will let the words be the closing. So I'll just say, we'll look to see each and every one of you next Sunday. Please do invite others into these primal waters of building the lighted temple, where we are crushing the mighty waves, spiritual waves, and providing safe haven for others in these sacred boxes that each and every one of us is charged to build at this time. So I leave you with the words, chapter of giving a heart unto Asur Ani in the underworld. May my heart be with me in the house of hearts. May my heart be with me, and may it rest in me. Or I shall not eat of the cakes of Asur on the eastern side of the lake of flowers. We want to get up on the eastern side. We want to rise again. Neither shall I have a boat wherein to go down the Nile, and another wherein to go up, because we're just cruising in our boat. Nor shall I go forward in the boat with you. We want to be in that boat of Ra. May my mouth be given unto me that I may speak with it, and my 2 feet to walk with all, and my 2 hands and arms to overthrow my foe. Yeah, we're in battle now as Haru. May the doors of heaven be opened unto me. May Geb Seb, the prince of the gods, open wide his 2 jaws unto me. You know, those 2 jaws that God, God, that gateway, that passageway of the sun as it's making its ascent. May he open my 2 eyes which are blinded. May he cause me to stretch out my feet which are bound together. And may Anubis make my legs firm that I may stand upon them. May the goddess Sekhet make me to rise so that I may ascend unto heaven. And there may that be done which I command in the house of the Ka of Ptah. Haru says, I know my heart. Yes, I have gotten mastery over my heart. I have gotten the mastery over my 2 hands and arms. I have gotten the mastery over my feet. And I have gained the power to do whatsoever my Ka please. My soul shall not be shut off from my body at the gates of the underworld. We will get through this narrow passage, this turning point. But I shall enter in peace and I shall come forth in peace. And so I leave you with these words from the Pertimuru, our book of coming forth today after night. And so it is. So beloveds, peace, blessing, prosperity, Onk, Uja, Seneb, and look to see you next week.